It's 3 o'clock, and we now have a quorum here, so I'd like to call the Board of Trustees meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bodie?
Here.
Ms. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Corrado?
Here.
Mr. Depp? Ms. Hairston?
Here.
Ms. Howard?
Present.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Ms. Simpson? And Mr. Williamson?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. The minutes of the meeting of April 1st, 2014 will mail to all of the board members prior to this meeting for their review. Unless a board member requests a reading of those minutes, I will then ask, are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Having heard no request for the reading of the minutes and having heard no additions or corrections to the minutes stand approved as presented. We have a slight change to the agenda, and the first thing is, in our presentation, be the one. And Mark, I'll turn that over to you.
I will rapidly turn it over to Allison.
Okay.
Good afternoon. We'd like to today recognize one of our operators for a job well done. If you guys want to come over this way a little bit, don't be shy. This is Tracy Harbett. She's one of our project mobility operators, and she was very great in assisting an individual on board her bus that had a medical emergency. And whenever her supervisor, Kevin Beckelheimer, right here beside me, arrived at the scene, he noticed that she had already communicated fully the needs of the person to the paramedics and that type of thing, and she really just showed a very professional attitude in a very stressful situation. So we wanted to make sure that we recognized her here today. And do you have anything you wanted to say, Kevin?
Just that when I left the scene, I had left a true professional. She'd handled everything I mean, it was just no stress to her. She was just passing information along just like they needed it. I just stood back and watched her. She was a pro.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Tracy's already been rewarded with her official recognition before today. So.
Want to say anything?
Tracy, on behalf of the board, we commend you for representing the RTA in such an outstanding manner. We are proud that you're affiliated with us, and we wish you much success. Thank you very much. Okay, we then move on to item 5 on our agenda, which is the committee reports, finance and personnel. Sharon Hairston.
The Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees met jointly on April 15th, and as a result, 3 action items are being recommended today. Action item 2, acceptance of the 2013 audit report. The 2013 financial statement audit was discussed in detail during executive session at the jointly held committee meeting. Ms. Mary Stanford presented the RTA 2013 year-end financial statements. Also, Mr. Mike Phillips, Senior Audit Manager for Charles E. Harris and Associates, presented the audit opinion to the committee. The 2013 financial statements are on the dais today, represent the final statements. A couple of minor grammatical changes have been incorporated to the final statements. The auditors present an unqualified opinion on pages 1 and 2, and there are no management letter comments or findings. Based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to approve the financial statements for the years ended December 31st, 2013 and 2012, as well as the audit report thereon. Furthermore, this action will authorize the Secretary-Treasurer to transmit copies of the audit report to the appropriate federal, state, and local agencies and advertised in a newspaper of general circulation as required by Ohio Revised Code Sections 117.38.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion was made by Ms. Hairston, second by Ms. Hurd. Are there any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Action item number 2 is approved.
Action item number 3, rescinding Human Resources Policy Number 22. This action item relates to rescinding Human Resources Policy Number 22, discipline procedures for non-represented employees. On June 1st, 2012, RTA Human Resources introduced a newly revised employee standards of performance that placed all employees under the same procedure for applying progressive discipline as a means of corrective action and improving performance. Prior to this date, employees represented by ATU were under the standards of excellence. Employees represented by AFSCME were under the Employee Code of Conduct, and non-represented employees were governed by HR Policy Number 22, Disciplinary Procedures for Non-Represented Employees. RTA's newly established Employee Standards of Performance is focused on helping employees take personal responsibility for their conduct and job performance and eliminates unpaid suspensions. In instances where employees continue to fall short of expectations, he or she can be offered a last chance agreement to improve their performance before being discharged. Mr. Gene Rhodes provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in your board package. Gene is available today to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to rescind Human Resource Policy 22, Discipline Procedures for Non-Represented Employees.
Is there a second to that motion? Okay, motion made by Ms. Hairston, seconded by Mr. Corrado. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Action item number 3 is approved.
Action item number 4, transmission parts. The purpose of this procurement is to purchase transmission parts for Voith transmissions. Voith transmission parts are used on a routine basis by the Maintenance Department to ensure the proper maintenance of the fleet. Mr. John Sieber provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in your board package. John is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract to Gillig LLC based upon their bid of -1% off the fleet column in the current Voith parts schedule. The estimated award amounts are $142,829 for the base contract year, $164,254 for option year 1, and $188,892 for option year 2, for a total estimated award of $495,975. The annual award amount will vary based upon usage. FTA will be asked for waiver of the Buy American requirement. Transmission parts are included in the operating budget.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Hairston, second by Ms. Howard. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Action item number 4 is approved. Sharon, I believe you have a report.
And that was the end of the action items, and I do have a very quick report, and that is that the 2014 financial statements are included in today's board package, along with the current sales tax information. And Mary Stanford is available to answer any questions related to that information.
I would like to compliment Mary and her staff. We were told by the auditors there were no management letter comments. There were no correcting or adjusting journal entries that they had to make, and there are very few organizations who can wave that type of a banner and that type of results as of the audit. So Mary and your staff, congratulations, and thank you for an excellent job. Are there any other questions or comments regarding Ms. Harrison's report? Hearing none, we then move on to Planning Committee report. Janet?
Thank you. The Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees met on April 15th, and although there are no action items to bring before you, we do have a couple of important updates. Beginning with Mr. Eckler provided to the committee members of a strategic plan update document that highlights accomplishments and status reports of the strategic initiatives for the years ending 2012 and 2013. These updates were based on the board-adopted strategic plan recommendations for 2012 through 2015 report. Mr. Eckler also included a reminder of this Friday's Urban Nights event in which RTA is a participating sponsor. Shuttle services will be provided by the RTA connecting event sites at the Wright-Dunbar area, downtown, and Oregon District neighborhoods. Mr. Eckler also included an invitation to the 12th Annual I-70, I-75 Economic Development Summit that's going to be held on Thursday, May 15th at Sinclair Community College. In the marketing area, Ms. Pritchard also provided an update document highlighting our agency newsletter, our partnership with the Drive Less, Live More campaign, and community outreach events such as the Celebrating Life and Health event, the Clark State Spring Fling event, and the Regional Transition Fair. And this concludes my report. If there are any questions, Mr. Eckler is available to answer any questions.
Hearing no questions or comments, we're then going to move on to the investment report by Mr. Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Investment Advisory Committee met on April 17th for a very informative session on investments and fuel hedging results and strategy. Mr. Mike Fink discussed an article which was included in the committee packet regarding duration and convexity, the price-to-yield relationship. RTA, by law, owns only fixed-income securities, such as bonds. Investors who own fixed-income securities need to be aware of the relationship between the price of bonds and the interest rate of bonds. As a general rule, the price of a bond moves inversely to changes in interest rates. A bond's price generally increases as interest rates decline, and the bond price will decrease as interest rates go up. Mr. Fink highlighted the definition of Macaulay duration and modified duration. Mr. Fink explained that in general terms, duration is a measure of volatility within a portfolio. Specifically, RTA's modified duration at the end of March 2014 was 1.97 years. RTA therefore can expect bond pricing to increase or decrease by about 2% for each 1% move up or down in interest rates. Mr. Fink then discussed current economic conditions. Regarding U.S. employment, private sector payrolls have finally surpassed their previous peak, set just before the Great Recession. Essentially, U.S. employment is getting back to even. Another significant economic item was the increase in motor vehicle sales. Motor vehicle sales increased to a 16.3 million seasonally adjusted annual rate in March 2014 versus 15.3 million in February. The increase suggests that some sales were previously postponed by inclement weather. Mr. Fink does not see inflation as an immediate threat. Instead, the biggest ongoing concern globally is deflation. At the meeting, I asked about the vehicle sales and what is on the horizon for RTA, as vehicle sales is a very large component of Montgomery County sales tax collections. Mr. Fink stated that RTA will likely see increases in consumer spending related to automobile sales in the near future. Future concerns were then addressed by Mr. Schierlow. An article was included in the committee packet from Advisor Perspectives titled "Gun Block: Rates Will Remain Low in 2014." The article states overall expectations of stagnant economic growth and low inflation. A lack of motivated sellers will keep interest rates depressed at least for the remainder of 2014. However, investors should be concerned about an eventual rise in rates pending the outcome of the Federal Reserve's attempts to successfully exit quantitative easing. There was also discussion surrounding the deficit and the potential for long-term problems. Mr. Schierlo referred to a Social Security chart which theorized that Social Security could go massively into deficit starting in about 3 years. Medicare could likely follow a similar path. Mr. Schierlo also referred to a chart in the packet regarding the Affordable Care Act and the related effects of that law. Mr. Brad Drager reviewed Raymond James's first quarter fixed income portfolio analysis. Mr. Drager stated that RTA's investment portfolio consists of 54.8% of FDIC-insured securities. Included are certificates of deposit, most of which are not callable. Federal agency securities represent 45.2% of RTA's portfolio. In contrast, most of the federal agency securities are callable in nature. For reference, RTA's portfolio consisted of the following as of March 31st, 2014. Total book value of all investments, including Star Ohio, Fifth Third, and R.J. O'Brien fuel futures account, is $42.8 million. Total book value of all investments, excluding Star Ohio, Fifth Third, and R.J. O'Brien fuel futures account, is $31.3 million. The yield to maturity at cost on all investments, excluding Star Ohio, Fifth Third, and R.J. O'Brien fuel futures account, is 1%. The effective maturity and estimated annual income on all investments, excluding Star Ohio, Fifth Third, and R.J. O'Brien fuel futures account, is 2 years and $241,392, respectively. The committee then turned its attention to the fuel advisement. And Mr. Jeff Lemunion of Linwood Capital presented diesel fuel price risk management report, including a graphical presentation. The following key points were made to the committee. Lower prices in early February, mid-March, and early April allowed additions to the hedge position for 2015. The 2015 hedge grew from 10% to 36%. Speculation increased to new all-time high levels and remains high, which is relatively supportive of price. Inventory levels remain strong and near the 5-year average levels. The dollar remained in a relatively narrow range, having little effect on petroleum prices. Domestic production continues to grow and continues to achieve new 25-year high levels on a regular basis. Expectations are that domestic production will continue to grow, which helps mitigate upward price risk and also depresses prices further into the future. Saudi Arabian production has decreased by roughly the same volume that U.S. production has increased, causing Saudi Arabia to have more excess production capacity, which mitigates upward price movement and market risk. Demand has reverted to historically normal levels from the higher levels caused by an improving economy and the cold winter weather. The following strategy was recommended by Mr. Lemunion. RTA should continue to address 2015 as the market presents the opportunity to do so. RTA should avoid buying into high prices caused by high levels of speculation, and should seek to avoid hedging at excessive prices while managing risk. Committee members unanimously agreed with Mr. Lemunion's suggested fuel strategy. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you for your very lengthy and excellent report, but I think it stresses and it shows why we have to spend so much time in the area that Mr. Williamson just spoke about. Roughly 15% of our revenue needed to run the operation comes from fares. The rest has to come from other sources. investment income, since interest rates are so very low and we are limited in what we can invest in. As Mr. Williams reported, we have a 1% return. So if inflation is above 1%, our real return is negative, and if it's below 1%, it will be the difference between the inflation rate and the 1% that we're presently earning. And as I said in the past, the need for these reserves will be consumed quite a bit as we have to go out and buy over $100 million worth of buses in the next several years to replace our buses that are now aging. And we look at sales tax, and he talked about the car sales and all of that. We're heavily dependent upon sales tax, and we go directly proportionate to the economy. If the economy increases, sales increase, we get more sales tax. We are also concerned about expenses, and one of the biggest expenses that we have is fuel purchases. So how do we control that? How do you try to keep cost at a minimum? And then we enter into future contracts, which is a complex area that requires a lot of consideration, a lot of thought, and that's why we try to help. We do hire experts to help us make that determination. You know what the price of gasoline is. You see how that fluctuates. Diesel fuel is the same. And therefore, we have to try to minimize that to a great extent. So I comment and I compliment the investment committee for all of the time they put into that, because it has such a big bearing upon the operations of the RTA. Thank you very much. Are there any other comments or questions that you may have of Mr. Williamson? Okay, hearing none, we then go to the Executive Director's Report, and Mark, welcome back. And I trust you had a very meaningful vacation, and
Well, I did, and I wanted to thank the board for allowing me the time away. I want to thank Jim Napier for keeping things absolutely quiet here in my absence, which was really nice, and we had a great time. For me, it was a trip of a lifetime, and someday we'll get some pictures produced and we'll share those, and some fascinating differences in the way life is carried out over there versus how we do it here at home. But we're happy to be back. I wanted to mention just a couple of things. Obviously, I've been gone for a couple of weeks, so my time here has been limited. But, you know, yesterday we had an interesting event out at the VA. I really wanted to thank Allison and her team. They immediately responded. We provided vehicles and made them available for possible evacuations and all that. And fortunately, the event turned out to be much less of an event, I think, than originally it may have been hyped as. But the fact that we reacted that quickly was excellent, and that's part of what we want to do, to be supporting the community, especially in a time of need. Speaking of a time of need, this Friday is Urban Nights, and we'll be involved in a variety of projects. We're involved in the teen event. We partnered with Dayton Public Schools, the Downtown Partnership, and a host of others, including NCCJ, to put together an event that we hope will draw the teens and make them have a good time and feel a part of the event downtown. We'll be doing that. We'll obviously be running additional service that evening to deal with the extra crowds, and assuming there's good weather, we hope we'll have a great night, and that will be good. Hope to see you all down here. And I just wanted to finish by saying, you know, going back to the Be the One presentation, too often around here, I think we get bogged down in the small percentage of issues which seem to gobble up the majority of our time when it comes to employees, and yet we have events like this that happen seemingly every day. And I'm glad that, you know, Kevin took the time to write up the form and submit it in the program to make sure that an operator that really lives our core values and believes in them, you know, can be recognized. So we were really excited about that, and that's a good way for me to get started and get back in the saddle and get back to work. So unless you have questions, that's all I have.
thank you, Mark. Are there any questions of Mark? Thanks again, Mark. Is there any new business to come before the board? Is there any old business to come before the board? We now go to the public comment section, and I guess I have one person who wants to speak, and Mr. Sayer, I believe you withdrew the request on the basis that we will discuss your item at the committee meeting fully. Okay, thank you. I have Mr. Anton Brown to come before. Please step to the microphone, and let me just introduce you, or at least tell you about the procedures. You will have 3 minutes to speak. State your name and address before you start, at which time your time will begin. When you have a half a minute left, you will see a yellow light that will go on over here saying that you have a half a minute left. So, Mr. Brown, please.
Okay, my name is Alton Brown. I live at 210 North Main Street, Dayton, Ohio, 45402. My concerns with an event that happened to me, more than an event, I was left out at the Myers in Inglewood. It was on a weekend, and RTA is supposed to come in there, the Myers, every time they pass by, north or south. I make my determination on how I ride the bus according to the schedules that I have to go by. I was sent after a present for a young lady. I said, I can do that. I can get on the bus. I'm on the bus when it comes back, no problem. Well, on that particular day, the bus driver decided not to come in there. So I missed out on the birthday party. I missed out on all the pictures, being involved in the family affair. When I talked to the gentleman, Mr. Stankiewicz, I talked to him on Tuesday. This happened on the 6th, so that would have been the 8th. I did speak to him. And I just felt I was getting a runaround. It's like, as much as he could just talk around the matter, I didn't appreciate that. I've had another chance in the past where I made a call to the dispatch, explained to them about what was going on the bus. I basically get the runaround. I mean, they're asking me questions that they should know the answers to. If I give them the route of the bus, which way it's headed, what time it is, they shouldn't have to ask me what his name is or what does he look like. That doesn't make any sense. So anyway, this particular thing that happened to me on the 6th, I asked Mr. Stankiewicz one question. If you're not going to run the bus on the schedule, let me give you back my pass. Because I buy weekly passes. I buy monthly passes. It all depends on what I have to do. I said, well, I'll turn in my pass, just give me my money back. He says, they don't do that. We don't refund. All I wanted, you made me miss out on a very important event. All I want to be is compensated for it. If you go to the Golden Corral and pay your money and the food's no good, do you want to pay for that? I mean, you want them to look you in the face and say, no, we can't give you your money back. We know you didn't like anything on the menu because the food wasn't prepared properly or whatever, but you're not going to accept paying for things that you're not getting. You know what I mean? So basically, I could have talked to someone else, but one more person returned my call. One other person acted like they were concerned.
Mr. Brown, will you be able to stay after the meeting and talk either to Mark or Allison regarding just what you told me?
Yes.
Sure,
Okay,
because
please.
we'd like to know who the second person is you spoke to, and we'll do the investigation. And if the bus didn't come through, I'll buy back your pass, but I'd rather keep you as a happy customer. So if you'll meet with Allison and I afterwards, we'll get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
Great?
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I'm also told that Carla Pitzinger would like to speak again. Carla, I know you're familiar with the procedure, so I don't think I have to repeat them.
Well, I give my name and address.
Yes, please.
Carla Pitzinger at 3329 Shady View Road, Moraine, Ohio, 45439. I'm with the Community Action Partnership Advisory Advocate Education Committee, and this year we're working on transportation, as you might be aware of. And we had a small meeting here. We have meetings, monthly meetings, which is public, on the third Wednesday of the month from 10 to noon. And we met a little bit. We went. We're gonna. One of our members is working with Howard Bard, and Howard said he could attend our meetings here. So I'm hoping he'll attend this month's meeting. But I wrote real quick. I haven't gotten. I don't know if I mentioned this last month ago or so. I received a call from a lady from West Carrollton City today, April 1st. She said she would email me what ODOT had planned for the intersection. She said that their shelter is on private property, so they cannot clear the shelter when it snows. And Howard Bard and Mr. Eckler said, called and wrote letters to Moraine, Miami Township, and West Carrollton concerning the walkway and intersection crossing. They are working, getting permission with Public Works to build a shelter at number 9 at McIntosh Park. I haven't heard anything, they haven't started or anything on anything that. So I would like to get an update on that here, if possible. Howard said he needed permission from Public Works to build a shelter there because it's their property. Early this month, a bus driver was kicked off passengers for being intoxicated and drinking, except he was on crutches. Just having been discharged from the hospital and in a dark area on Alex Road, Dixie, far from anywhere to walk and wait, around 8 p.m. from the temperature around 20 degrees, I had a little bit of concern about that. I don't think he would be sober enough by the time to catch the next bus to go to the shelter, which was where he was heading. He had a little shelter thing there, card, which is on Gettysburg, which is was a good couple miles away. Coincidentally, a man was hit and died that night in front of the shelter on Gettysburg. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I thought it was him, but it was another guy. So that's just something, that just bothered me a little bit. So I wanted to see if there could be more coordination between the bus, in that case. I really, I called the West Carrollton Police Department to see if they could check.
Time is up.
Okay, does anyone have any?
If you could, again, I ask you if you could stay after to discuss this, unless Mark or Frank or anyone has a comment. Okay, to follow up on the items you requested. Good. Okay. I don't think there's a need for an executive session. Are there any board member comments?
I'd like to make one comment, but I need Mr. Whitmore's. Friday night, we were at an event where a young lady was awarded a scholarship, and her father is a RTA bus driver. Do you remember who he was? Anyway, I got a chance to talk with him, and it was nice because I guess he's been here 20 or 30 years, and I've never heard his name. So I told him that's a good thing. But RTA did do a small sponsorship for the event, and then to turn around and find out that one of the bus drivers, his daughter was the person who won, so it was very nice.
Very nice. Thank you. Are there any other comments?
I would just like to thank the staff for always remembering the social responsibility of helping students. I've been to 2 events over this past month, and both of them, when I walk in, I see RTA buses transporting students, and that's a good thing. So I just want to say thanks to them for that.
Thank you.
Can we make it a trio here?
Please.
I just want to recognize 3 RTA, I got to put in Sinclair, and the Levin Foundation for the health fair that they put on in April. I attended, and it was a lot of people there, but it was really good to see the RTA Project Mobility Bus drop clients off so that they could get their health care and all of those social services that they could get for free. So I just like to say to the public that RTA does a wonderful job in outreach to the community and to help our citizens, and it was just a good thing to see the buses roll in and out of the drive-through in Building 12. It was a really good feeling to see that, so thank you.
Should we make it a foursome? Okay. Hearing no further comments, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let the record show that that's been unanimously approved. Thank you.